What's up YouTube, Leon here, and man, I can't stop playing Guilty Gear Strive. It's been such a long time since I've gotten my hands on a fighting game that I've been enjoying this much. I had my initial fears, just like everyone else, but after spending some quality time and learning what Strive has to offer, those fears turned into genuine enjoyment. Before I sink my teeth into why Strive is something of an anomaly, let's just talk about what modern fighting games want. People to play the damn things. Many big fighting game developers' only solution is... I won't say it, because no matter how hard they try, people who have experience will always beat people who don't. That's just the way it is. So stop simplifying the damn things and make a fun fucking game. Jesus Christ. Simplifying systems isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing that more people can enjoy fighting games because it's more understandable. It's not a good thing when it impairs a player from expressing themselves the way they want. I'm not gonna point any fingers, but when a well-known series gets a new entry, I would expect an evolution, not to devolve instead. Which leads to why Strive is a bit of an anomaly. So let's just get into it then. Here are my thoughts on Guilty Gear Strive. If we were going to compare fighting games as music genres, Guilty Gear has got to be the definition of rock. Well, at least the older titles. Now it's more like pop rock or something. Okay. Never mind, that was a bad analogy. But just like music, the genre of rock just isn't the same. I may be an aging old man, but Guilty Gear just isn't the same these days. And that's not a bad thing. As much as I like classic rock music, there are still real gems being made today. You've just gotta have an open mind. Maybe I'm not that old after all. The real point I'm trying to make is that Strive is different. GG+R and Rev 2 kind of feel the same to me. Sure, there are very different games in their own right, especially when you dig into their systems, but at surface level, they are very similar. Oh, and Guilty Gear 2, but we don't talk about that one, I guess. Strive is the first time Guilty Gear really changed. And this is the first time I was genuinely concerned about the game moving forward. Arc System Works is a fairly low-budget company. It's pretty unknown outside of non-fighting game communities, until the big bombshell of a game that made the name Arc System Works matter. Dragon Ball is a name that the whole world knows. Because of this, Arc Systems needed to make a game with that in mind. A 3v3 fighting game with simplified controls. An auto combo system that was integral to how the game was played. Easy to pick up and still had tons of depth to explore. Even if you personally dislike Dragon Ball FighterZ in one way or another, you can't deny how big of an impact this made in the fighting game genre as a whole. Of course, Arc Systems was blown away by the reception that Dragon Ball had, so their next few games that came out down the line was influenced by this fact. Those two games are of course BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle and Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I've never played these games so I don't have my own opinions on them, but these games have been met with mixed reception to say the least. This is where oversimplifications can be a detriment. And so after a few weeks of playing this game almost non-stop, Guilty Gear Strive, while simplified, still retains depth, but also, more importantly, player expression. Let's start off with the presentation. I mean, just look at it. Stylized, high-quality anime action. You can see the blood, sweat, and tears in these animations. The UI? I mean, why does it have to look like a phone game? An odd choice. It works, just doesn't mean I have to like it. Before we get into the real nitty-gritty stuff, let's talk about what changed from its predecessors. The first one, and probably the worst one, is overall movement speed. Walk, run, air forward, and backdashes have been toned down. Just moving characters compared to the other games just feels sluggish at times. An odd choice considering you're playing as anime characters with superpowers. Second worst is probably the changes to the Gatling system. To keep it simple, Gatling just meant that you could press the attack buttons in a row. For example, punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, to make a simple combo. In Strive, you might as well not call them Gatlings at all. Each button can only be cancelled by other specific buttons. I'm gonna try to make it short, I promise. Punches can only be cancelled into itself, a command normal, or a special move. Nothing else. Kicks can only be cancelled into a command normal, dust, or special move. Slashes and heavy slashes, for the most part, feel like their older counterpart, except can't be cancelled into dust. Unless it's close slash. Do you kinda see where I'm going with this? Gatlings were made to be simple in the older Guilty Gears. It's just weird that they had to put these restrictions on something that made the older games approachable, in a sense. Oh, and those Gatling rules, they're character specific, you know. Just Guilty Gear things. Now let's get into the fun stuff, the combo system. In older titles, characters would pop out of combos in the air. If you want the technical term, it's hit-stun deterioration. With this system in place, it discouraged the long combos, but that didn't stop people from doing some crazy shit. Also, doing these combos can be frustratingly technical. Strive opted for something that made a bit more sense. Hit-stun deterioration in the air is now gone, and instead has a more Tekken-like juggle system in place. The more you hit people in the air, the faster they will fall to the ground, making sure you can't get infinites. At least for now. So now combos are dependent on how well you can keep your opponent in this juggle state. And because of how the juggle state works, shorter combos are now more of the focus. Neat. If you've been around the block, another big change is the damage. Goddamn, the damage. When a 3-hit combo does this much, makes you think, damn, am I playing Street Fighter 2 or something? This is damage you can't shake off, making every hit matter. It's upping the stakes and making each encounter exciting. Okay, this is too exciting. Please stop, Soul. Counter hits have been in every Arc System fighting game, but not like this. I mean, they pretty much work the same. Getting a counter hit makes certain combos work that normally shouldn't. The main change is that that thing is ridiculous. And I kinda like it. In many other fighting games, getting a counter hit and reacting to one correctly can be pretty difficult. But when you make the counter hit effect look like this, while jarring, makes it a lot easier to react to. I'm sure there will be people who will hate this, but I kinda dig it. Alright, now let's get to some good shit. You all know what I'm gonna talk about now, Roman cancels. Or RC for short. RCs have been in Guilty Gear since the dawn of time. Even Street Fighter had something similar at one point. But what makes Strive's RC better than all the other RC systems? And that's where all the little nuances come into play. First of all, what is an RC? You use meter to cancel any move. Whether it would be to extend a combo or make something safe, these are your typical applications for RC. In older Guilty Gear titles, all you have to know about the system is that it's a very advanced system with different types of RCs. The majority of RCs use 50% of your meter, and one type of RC that uses only 25%. So with an already advanced system in place, how did they change the way RCs work in Strive? Well, they made them even crazier. Streamline my ass. First change is that every RC is now 50 meter every time. Doesn't matter what you do, it's 50 meter. Pay up! Second is now the RC itself counts as a hit, putting your opponent in a slow-mo float state. Freaking weird. This is the typical red RC. Another RC is the purple RC, which is anything that is whiffed or delayed. Finally, the blue RC, which is done at neutral, when you don't do anything. It slows down time, making things seeable within a certain range. Also, with all these types of cancels, you can cancel the cancel. You don't want the slow-mo? Then you don't need it. Just press another button. It's as simple as that. It's crazy, it's not that simple. These systems are comparable somewhat to the older Guilty Gear systems until Drift RC. Before in RC, you can drift in one of 4 directions. This is where player expression and creativity shine. Instant overheads, feints, pressure, all of the above, RC Drift changes what you could do drastically. It takes momentum shift, literally, in a system mechanic. Oh, and the yellow RC, which replaces dead angles in older games. A defensive get-off-me move that pushes the opponent back. Not sure why they made it in RC, but sure, I guess. Here's a new mechanic, wall breaks. You keep hitting your opponent next to a corner to do more damage and get a meter bonus. Cool. The odd part is guaranteeing that wall break. There's some sort of invisible damage meter that builds, and it determines when you can get a wall splat. You can kind of get a feel for when you get a wall splat, but most of the time, I just get surprised instead. So how does this mechanic add to the Guilty Gear formula? In theory, as the attacker, you have a choice. You can ease off the opponent in order to keep the corner, or break the wall to get damage and benefits. The main problem is, why wouldn't you break the wall every time? You get more damage and meter? And if you super during a wall splat, you have an advantage? Just break the wall every time, man. I guess the main idea behind wall breaks is a return to neutral. One side gets the benefits of wall breaking, while the other gets to try again. Unless you get supered, of course. I like the idea, but breaking the wall always seems like the optimal choice. The real takeaway is that Strive manages to be approachable without having to take away what's important. Playing the game the way you want. I can gush about the game's mechanics forever, but what about the game as a whole? Is there a whole lot I can do in single player? How about the character roster? Is there a lot of characters I can play? How about the online systems? Are they great? Well, the short answer is no. You got like an anime movie you could watch. You have arcade mode, survival mode. There's only 15 characters. Online lobbies are such trash, I can't even describe it. Look, this is a new fighting game for $60. If you're not really a fan of the genre, first of all, why are you even watching this? Second, you're better off getting a different game. As a jumping point for the genre, I would say any new fighting game. Which I guess this one works. So this one. The fact of the matter is, as a business, your bang for your buck, the amount of things that you get, it's practically Street Fighter V all over again. Just keep that in mind when you want some meat in your fighting games. But what this game has that not many other fighting games have is a decent tutorial. Not this tutorial, this one. Mission mode is the real tutorial. It's a good starting point for anyone who's fairly new to the genre as a whole. It covers the basics and then some. It's still a tutorial that will go over certain people's heads, and that's because it's a fighting game. You can't just tell someone the intricacies of a fighting game system. It takes time and a lot of losing. But as far as teaching goes, it's probably the best one so far. Let's go over the two modes you'll be spending the most time in, training and online. Training is as robust as it can get. Main problem, no frame data. My god, 2021, get with the times, Arc Systems. But other than that, pretty damn good. Now the most important part, online. Playing against another person is amazing. There are very few times where Strive's online falters. Sure, you'll get rollbacks and delays, but they're so few and far between, it almost makes it a non-issue. But what's an issue is everything else surrounding that. Lobbies are awful. I say that because Arc Systems had better lobbies in older titles. It also doesn't help that it looks like that. The ranking system good on paper, awful in execution. You'll be on a floor from 1 to 10 depending on your skill level, 1 being less skilled and 10 being the most, with an 11th floor being the best of the best, the Celestial. But honestly, this system is too varied to make these ranks count, especially in ranks 9 and 10. Going up and down floors is way too quick, and there's no indication of when it's about to happen. Not to mention during a 3-game set, if you or your opponent go up or down a floor in the middle of said set, it'll kick you out. Why? And of course, the technical issues. Turning the game on to try something in training mode takes this long? Why? I hate this game. Let's talk about the weird social media discourse this game is having. I'll make it quick. This game is huge. Even huger than what the devs expected. Congrats, by the way, for 500k sold. Freaking cool. Hundreds of thousands of people have their hands on this game, and just like any big community, toxicity ensues. The spread of false information and overall just unlikable people. Just ignore them and have fun the way you want. There are many things that people over the internet have been talking about, whether it may be game balance or secret tech, glitches, and other unintended things. These things will get patched out. It's hard to comment on how the game is in terms of balance because it'll immediately date the video. Fighting games change a lot during their lifespan, and I have a lot of faith in the devs. I hope they make the game they want, because I really do like this game and absolutely recommend it, despite its faults. So that was my thoughts on Guilty Gear Strive, an anomaly, simplified in some parts while complex in others, easy to play while keeping an ocean of depth, and most importantly, letting players express themselves in ways that are only possible through their own creativity. This is Leon from Humans Plays, and do you guys like Strive? I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.